Alright, what up y'all? It's Metaphor back for more to kick the raw, represent everyone's you and I verse. We're going to do a video on the introduction to reading a natal chart, right? So we're going to start with what I believe is the best place to start at, because this is the fastest transition of the natal chart, and that would be the moon. So the moon right now is in Scorpio, right? But the moon is about to be new in Capricorn here coming up. So the moon is Scorpio. I'll just give you a little breakdown of what it's going to be for these energies of today and the next day and a little bit of the following day, I'm pretty sure. The moon moves every 2.5 days, right? So the moon in Scorpio is a fixed water, right? So the moon would be your comfortable state, your feeling, your emotions upon things. So Scorpio, being a water sign, is a very emotional moon sign in general. Right? And there are also, better places for the moon to be than others. And this is one of those examples with the moon being in Scorpio. The moon is in detriment in Scorpio. It's at fall. And due to it being opposite, in Taurus, that's where the moon is exalted. And then the moon is at home in Cancer. Right? And then to go further, the moon in Capricorn is where it's also at work. You see what I'm saying? So Capricorn moon is very alike to a Scorpio moon. Very in depth and very deep thinkers, right? They're kind of think about the furthest extent of things. It's like that's pretty much what created Sagittarius. Scorpio being on one side, being that fixed water, and Capricorn being that cardinal earth, the fixed water being consistent or stubborn upon a way of feeling, and the cardinal earth being initiative and starting upon the way of practicality. So instead of like the Cancer moon being in that emotions and having a cardinal emotion, being open to new emotions each and every time you are dealing with a circumstance, and the Taurus moon making sense out of the emotions in a fixed way to say, okay, well, I'm going to keep on building upon this same thing, and I'm going to keep on building on this same emotion, and that's where it can be exalted. But you can't get too caught up in the, I have an exalted moon, or I have an at-home moon, or I have a fall moon, or I have a at-work moon. The best way to look at this is the actual transition through the seasons. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to have a new and a full moon through each season. So we're going through Sagittarius season, finishing it up right now, and we just had our new our full moon in Gemini, and there was that new moon in Sagittarius, and now we're gonna have the right now we're going through the moon going from being full to waning and becoming a new moon in Capricorn, where we're gonna have the new moon in Capricorn and Capricorn season. So with the moon being a Scorpio today, and the following day, and whatever degrees are left, I'm pretty sure we're around like the 0 to 10 degrees right now while I'm recording this video, and every, I think, 2 hours the moon moves a degree. So you think about, you have your 12, 24. So you know what I'm saying? That's one day, and you'd have a whole 12 degrees of the sign, and then another 12 degrees of the sign the next day, and that would accumulate to 24, and then the little extra, right? You know what I mean? To finish up that 30-degree accumulation to move to the next sign. So, and like I'm saying, this introduction to the natal chart, this is why I say start with the moon. I'll give you a good breakdown of how the moon works, so that way you can watch how the moon transitions all the way through each new and full moon, and see, okay, whenever it's full, am I accumulated? Did I, do everything that was proper preparation for whenever I had the new moon to accumulate what I felt was necessary to have that, correct accumulation that that an individual was going for. So, the next step, I think, in my opinion, would be to look at a Mercury sign. So to say, the Mercury is always going to be right beside the sun sign. So if you look at Mercury, how it travels through the sky with the sun, it's either going to be behind the sun, on the sun, or right in front of it. So to say, if you have a Sagittarius sun sign, their Mercury can only be in Scorpio, Sagittarius, or Capricorn. So if you have a Sagittarius with a Mercury in Scorpio, they're gonna Mercury think, communicate about in-depth things, but the way that they think about in-depth things end up being a philosophical action upon it. So their in-depth thoughts create a philosophical action of what they've experienced and how to, I don't want to say expound. I want to say, give another individual the knowledge and wisdom that they have, accumulated through that in-depth thought. So with the Mercury in Sagittarius, it would be a traveling mind state, either traveling in the mind or actually liking to go and travel across, the land or the water. So this Mercury in Sagittarius would be a mutable fire, being able to adapt to any circumstances, way of visions and burning through reality, and bringing the fire element is like I say, burning through reality. So it's intangible. So like to say, it's either you're on the move and you're not in one space. Mercury in Sagittarius is going to think about an experience or traveling in the mind, like I say, to get that knowledge and wisdom and say, okay, I got to talk to the right people, to actually have the correct knowledge and wisdom upon something. It's like you want a credible source. That's a little bit of a tangent from what I'm explaining with the Mercury. But the Mercury in Sagittarius, like I say, would be able to adapt to other people's ways of communicating. See, the fixed Mercury would kind of be in their own way of communicating, but the mutable Mercury would be able to adapt to other people's ways of communicating, and due to it being in line with the sun, your actions would also be able to adapt to other people's ways of acting as well. So you can think, communicate, and act in the knowledge and wisdom based, aspect of Sagittarius. So it's like gives you that full effect. It's like to say, if your Mercury is behind the sun, you're not really so like behind. You think about thinking behind actions. Right? So you think very in depth or a lot about the action, and I would say if the Mercury is in front of the sun, then you don't think as much before acting. But if it's right in line with the sun, then your actions are aligned with it. You see what I'm saying? And to finish up this little Mercury breakdown, the Mercury in Capricorn would be initiating, creating new ways of practical and logistics, being cardinal Earth. So your practicality and logistics, you say, okay, what I've built upon, my thought patterns and where I am in my life. You see what I'm saying? The Saturnian nature of Capricorn, which would be, like I say, initiating, creating a new way of practicality and logistics. So a new way of thinking every time that you are about to act, though. So like every time you act in your Sagittarius nature upon knowledge and wisdom, you tend to bring a new practicality about it. I personally think that the best way to begin in astrology is going with the Moon and Mercury, like I say, because the Moon and Mercury move the fastest in the natal chart. And this is just the beginning of what I'm going to be breaking down in my future videos, you see what I mean? So like I say, the Moon's in Scorpio right now, and we're going to keep on doing Moon videos until I finish up the whole series, and then we're going to move on to doing Mercury videos, and then I'm going to get all the way through it until we get to more of the outer planets, which will be like Saturn and Jupiter and Mars. So once we get there, then we're going to see, okay, this is a longer transit, so we'll just do them in order, like to say from Aries to Pisces. So much love, and holla back at me, and you can holler back at me at conscious1347 at gmail.com. That's CONSCIOUS 1347 at gmail.com. And you can holler at me for a reading on any aspect of your natal chart, or the whole natal chart in general, or a plethora of things. So, like I say, much love and holler back at me.